News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. An unbelievable case when the Black Lives Matter riots were going on all over the country, including in Austin, Texas, where you had a BLM terrorist pointing an AK-47. He was lawfully carrying it, but he was in the BLM riots, and he pointed it at demanded this Uber driver who was working instead of riding, who they were blocking from doing his job in the street in downtown Austin on that horrible night. And he pointed the AK-47 at him, demanded he roll his window down. Then and there, that man, who is Daniel Perry, Sergeant Daniel Perry from the retired, I guess you could say, from Fort Hood in the Army, he was driving, working, and this man raised his gun, and the trajectory of it proved, according to the detective in that case, the homicide detective, that in fact he was going to kill him. That it was there was lawful intent for, or there was lawful self-defense for Sergeant Daniel Perry to raise his firearm, shoot, and ended up shooting to stop the threat of this BLM protester, terrorist, and shot and killed him, and in self-defense. Nonetheless, the DA rigged it because he's a Soros-backed woke DA. And today, Governor Greg Abbott ordered a expedited pardon and paroles. Let me say that again. He ordered an expedited review of the Texas Board of Pardons and Parole. Could make this quick. I believe this man's been railroaded. I want your recommendation, because he has to have that. He cannot pardon without the recommendation of the Board of Pardons and Parole. They looked at it. They investigated it. They looked at every document. They spent, I believe, months, if not longer, investigating this and interviewed witnesses and everything. And they unanimously voted to pardon Sergeant Daniel Perry. They did, and immediately Governor Abbott pardoned him. And guess what else? He's gotten his firearms rights back. I mean, my hands are up in the air. Isn't that amazing? He can carry his gun, and he should be, and he is right now, hopefully. God bless that man. He's been pardoned and exonerated. There's nothing. He has nothing on his record. He had nothing before. He has nothing now. That man is as free as you and I are, and has sparse. He has no record now, just as you and I do. Hopefully, you don't have a record either. If you do, hopefully you've been clean and lawful since then. Okay, so. The questions are, do you support the pardoning of this man who was convicted for murder of a BLM activist with an AK-47 and sentenced to 25 years for defending himself? And would you hire Sergeant Daniel Perry now that he's been pardoned? And would you say something nice to him if you saw him out there on the street or something today? 800-288-WBAP is our number. Chime in. We've got 4 lines open. 800-288-9227. Before we go back to Jan in Dallas, I'm going to read this. The woke Soros-backed DA lashed out at Governor Abbott today, and he said, quote, "Today, a convicted murderer will walk the streets of Texas. Texas Republicans have once again proven they cannot keep the public safe." Now, this is so funny, okay? Texas Republicans have once again proven they cannot keep the public safe. They are not the party of tough on crime. They are not the party of law and order. Make no mistake, Daniel Perry is a murderer who was on a mission to commit violence against Texans, and today our justice system was hijacked for political gain. This is such a freaking funny joke. Actually, it's not the woke Soros DA. It's the woke leftist head of the Texas Democrat Party. The Texas Democrat Party does not want you to lawfully defend yourself. You hear this? They don't want you to have a gun. They want the terrorists and the BLM terrorists to point a gun at you, and they can kill you. They can do whatever they want to you because they're riding for St. George Floyd, blessed be his name, and you are against St. George Floyd, blessed be his name, and so you can be killed, terrorized, attacked, violated, but you cannot defend yourself against people that are terrorists in the name of a political movement, which is BLM, Marxist, Socialist, and godlessness and fatherlessness homes. Okay, let's go back to Jan on this case. If you agree for the pardoning of this man who was convicted of murdering a BLM activist with an AK-47, would you hire Sergeant Daniel Perry? By the way, he pointed it at the defendant before he shot him. And would you hire this man, Sergeant Daniel Perry, now that he's been pardoned? And would you say something nice to him if you saw him out there? I would have picked him up at the jail if I could have today, and I would have bought him a steak dinner and had it right there waiting for him on a silver platter to eat in the back seat of my car as I drove him. Jan and Dallas, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. I didn't want to rush you. You were just barely getting started, so go ahead, Jan.
No, so I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to keep it to the point. So 100%, not only would I hire him, I'd hire him to protect my family, my community, and his pardon is justified. And I will tell you this, if anybody knows anything about firearms, if you shoot and you do it enough, and I will go back, the young man that was killed, so sorry that happened to him, but he was an idiot. You don't pull out an AK-47 rifle and go at close range at an Uber driver who probably did not have a rifle to fight back. He probably had a handgun, and that's how the guy was taken out.
He did. He had a handgun.
Exactly. And so the point is this. You don't go into a knife fight, right, if somebody's got a gun. But if somebody's got a rifle, you don't have a handgun. One of the reasons a lot of the police officers now are being issued rifles is because if they got a handgun and they're going after somebody with a rifle, they're going to get killed. But if you're in close proximity, like that guy was with his AK-47, and he's that close,
he pointed at him.
Be taken out. Yeah,
he pointed at him at almost point blank. He was like, what, 5 feet from him?
Well, I understand that, but I mean, you cannot disarm. The thing is like.
By the way, real fast, the detective I've been telling you about, his the angle of the shot from the Sergeant can't remember his name now. Sergeant Perry. Yeah, Daniel Perry. The angle of the the angle of the firearm, the discharge and the round showed that he was in fact at the angle he said he was at. He was down. He was at the angle sitting down in the defensive, and the killed guy, the dead guy, the deceased, the angle of his barrel, I believe, was also another thing that they examined, and it was all everything.
It's crazy. It goes back to just our rights. And I mean, I watched the video earlier today. Honestly, I did not remember his race because it's been so many years.
Yeah, he's white, but his fiance is black, but it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yes, sir. No, it doesn't matter. But I mean, I watched the thing. That's the only reason I knew his race today, because I watched what he was saying. He was like, yeah, I can't, go in the street and do this because the cops wouldn't let him. He goes, but I'm over here, doing this. Here goes, but the rest of them, and he called them pussy willows, if you will. And just
he calls them what?
He called them a bunch of pussies, is what he said.
Oh, okay.
And then he pulled his gun on the guy, and I mean, the guy, had more experience than him. It's sad. It breaks my heart for both families. Because
I want to add one more thing that was massively hammered at the trial.
Yeah.
Especially in view of St. George Floyd, blessed be his name, and that was, and the riots be going on at the time for him,
right,
for his drug overdose death in the custody of Minneapolis police, and that is this. They say he had, on his social media, he had stuff that was racist and bad and this and that he was saying he might have to shoot one of these protesters and stuff. But the problem is that doesn't mean he did it, murdered anybody. You can say that, but that's freedom of speech, and it's not okay. Some of the things he said are not okay, but it doesn't matter. What matters is right there and then what happened at the moment, what that whatever the situation he was in, the circumstances, and at that moment what happened. And what happened there had nothing to do with what he had said on social media. He was working. This man approached him. The ralliers, the rioters, and the terrorists blocked him in, and then one pointed a gun at him, and he had to defend himself. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. They're like, oh, he's racist. Look, that doesn't matter. That didn't matter.
I'm not saying that.
He didn't say, I'm going to go kill this so-and-so, and I'm going to murder him. He was talking about the overall things he was seeing, the rioting, the looting, the killings. So, yeah.
Well, Chris, if you were ever in a situation, you're a parent, and people descended in your car in an AK, what would you do if you had a gun? I'd defend myself.
You don't know whose this is, and you don't know what, and you're in the middle of a rioting situation, and people are rioting, 100%. Looting, shooting, killing. There's no question. And even if you're in the middle of a church service, somebody points a gun at you, you're going to shoot and kill them because it's either you or them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate you. Okay. Now, I want to get into this. Robert Hur, the special counsel, do you remember him? You remember he was the one investigating Biden on the classified documents? He found that, in fact, Biden did violate the law, but, quote, he was a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, and therefore, can you believe this? Our president is a well-meaning elderly man with poor memory. We forgot about that, didn't we? Forgot about that. Remember that? Anyway, Biden was so proud after everybody was demanding you got to release the transcripts of that interview with her because we need to see what you said. Are you really a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory? The transcripts did not look good. But just like Bill Clinton's testimony, like so many people's testimony, there's video of him doing in this testimony, and there's in this investigation, and there's also audio of him and video of him. Don't you think since we released the transcript and they released transcripts, why would they want to hide the video and audio? Because it shows you how doddering, old, and elderly and poor memory he has, and he is. Maybe he was going slow so he wouldn't trip up, and he didn't want to do something wrong. But it shows who he really is when he's being asked about something that's important. He is not there. He means well, but he's elderly and he has a poor memory. That's our leader. That's our commander-in-chief. And now Biden's Justice Department literally is trying to stop us from seeing and hearing the video. You got to hear, but they're nailed. Because I have audio and video of what they've said publicly about this that totally contradicts what they're doing today. Do not miss this. That's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Oh, that's a good one. 820 WBAP. Anyways, 93.3 FM WBAP, but 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227, blah, 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 blah. That's a new, I just heard that one for the first time. It just brings back so many memories. That's a great one. Okay, Special Counsel Robert Hur, if you remember, was the one investigating Joe Biden's documents, which were top secret classified, that he allowed his ghostwriter to check it all out. There's him on tape telling his ghostwriter to go downstairs in his basement and get the classified documents. These were documents he had no right to at all. In fact, these are documents he stole illegally as a U.S. senator. He had no business being in possession of them. He stole them, and he knew he stole them when he stole them. You know how? Well, everybody knows. Because a U.S. senator can never take any classified documents out of a SCIF. He could look at them, he can write notes, but guess what? He can't even take his notes out of the SCIF. They have to be destroyed. Joe Biden stole classified documents from our government as a U.S. senator. Secondarily, as a vice president has no ability to classify any documents. Vice president has no ability to remove classified documents from a SCIF, has no business even taking his notes out of a SCIF. He, too, is at the level of a senator when it comes to classified documents. Biden stole classified documents from his vice presidential time as well. The man is a felon who has stolen classified documents for his own enrichment to tell these top secret classified information to sell his book and get more millions out of his book. And he did. He's a thief. He's a crook, and he is a felon. Second of all, did he use them for his son Hunter? He left tons of these documents in a box in his garage where his son came and went all the time, including with the women. And while he was on drugs and selling stuff to the Chinese and demanding that they send money now while my dad's sitting next to me. So this is all intertwined. Trump is the only one charged with documents cases. Special counsel Robert Hur said, yes, he committed crimes. Yes, he's guilty. But if this went in front of a jury, the jury would see a well-meaning, quote, a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. And remember, Joe Biden had a press conference. He went against his own people's advice. It was in the evening when he, as a sundowner with early stage Alzheimer's, they start to fall apart after the sun goes down. he decided to violate the rules of his people and just go out there and give a speech, and he tripped himself up. He was angry. He looked bad, and but they were bragging. Biden administration was bragging. They said, "Hey, we released the transcripts. Look, we have nothing to hide." But they refused to relinquish after all these months. They refused to relinquish the video and audio of the transcripts where we could see them. And you know what's funny? Just in February, guys, what was this, 3 months ago? February, 3 months ago, Joe Biden's spokesperson, one of his top spokespersons, Ian Sams, said this.
3, he didn't exert executive privilege over any contents of the report. He was transparent. He had nothing to hide.
So 3 months ago, Ian Sams, one of his top spokespersons, said he didn't exert any privilege over anything, any executive privilege. Look at this. We have nothing to hide. We've got it all for you. Until you find out today that he has his attorney general step out, Merrick Garland, and suddenly say, we will not release the tape and the audio after repeated requests from news outlets, even leftist ones like the Politico, and from the investigating House Committee, U.S. House Committee. Even though it's been subpoenaed, because it would jeopardize national security. I'm going to give you their total BS excuses coming up next. But also, what you need to know is this, too. Also, there is a lot of damning things in this. He just doesn't want you to see him and hear him. It's that bad. So he's hiding, and everybody knows it now. My questions are for you on this case is this. Do you think this makes President Biden look worse? The fact that he released the transcripts, but he refuses to provide the video and audio, even though they bragged that there was no executive privilege on anything until today. Do you think this makes Biden look worse as far as his ability to just have a conversation and an investigation? And why do you think he's hiding this video and audio of his Robert Hur interview? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I'm going to give you the ridiculous excuses of Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland, and how the Republicans are going after Merrick Garland now, and they're going to nail him on something. I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what the excuses are next. All right. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. You may get a preset, yo. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Okay, do you think Joe Biden asserting executive privilege over special counsel Robert Hur's tapes, where he called him a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory that he wouldn't prosecute even though he's guilty of stealing classified documents and retaining them illegally and being in possession of them? And in fact, the coordination with the Department of Justice suggests tapes are worse than we think. And I think it's because too much is at stake. So I think Joe Biden perhaps went really slow to be careful, knowing that he had violated the law a lot in this case. And I think because he was trying to go careful and slow, that he literally couldn't remember stuff, and that he is who he is. He's got problems. We all know he's got cognitive problems. The world knows. And his attorneys or his advisors or both must have told him it's so bad. You know what I mean? Like, this is so bad. Don't let them see this. Release the transcripts, but don't release the video and audio. It's that bad. No. I want to release it. I got nothing to hide. I'm innocent. No, dude. It's worse than you. Have you watched it? I don't need to. It was good. No, it's bad. Like, it would do you so much harm, dude. No, we're not going to budge on this one. And they yell at him, swear at him. And then not a Dr. Jill probably stepped in, because she really runs the show over there. She's in charge of the COVID vaccine program, obviously, as not a doctor. So I would trust her with a physical and with my health needs. I wish she could be my personal, not a doctor, physician. All right, where were we now, though? I was going to tell you this, too. My questions are, Why do you think this makes Biden look worse? The fact that he doesn't want you to see the video and the videotape and audio of his testimony, or his testimony, I guess. And why do you think he's hiding the video and audio of this interview? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I'm going to read a couple things here to you. First of all, Merrick Garland, his excuses. We have gone, this is him just doing what his boss wants him doing, colluding with Joe Biden. We have gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure the committees get responses to their legitimate requests, but this is not one. The video and audio of the president is not a legitimate request under investigation for a federal crime. Where the U.S. attorney says that he's a well-meaning, or the special prosecutor says he's a well-meaning elderly old man with a poor memory. He's guilty, but they wouldn't convict him on the jury because he's such a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Merrick Garland says, so he's literally too frail and old and mentally gone to prosecute. That's literally what he said. And we will never have a chance to see judge for ourselves. And this man's asking for us to put him in again for another 4 years. This is of the highest, utmost importance to all of us. AG Garland says, we have gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure the committees get responses to their legitimate requests, but this is not one. I'm sorry, I can't say this without laughing. To the contrary, this is one that would harm our ability in the future to successfully pursue sensitive investigations. Is this a joke? This is funny. And then this poor, incompetent, inept woman who checks all the boxes, named Corinne Jean-Pierre, said, for one, the transcript is, as you all know, is already out there. The Attorney General made it clear that law enforcement files like this need to be protected. Doddering, well-meaning old men with frail memories need to be protected, is what she's saying. And so the president made his determination at the request of the Attorney General. Hey, I'm guessing that Special Counsel Robert Hur will not be getting a Biden Christmas card this year. What do you think? What's that, Producer Garrett? What? He'll be getting a lump of coal. No, he'll be getting a lump of bleep. Come here, Commander. Stop attacking the Secret Service for 1 minute to come take a dump over here in this bag. They're going to wrap it in presidential wrapping from the White House. Oh, set it dry ice so it doesn't smell till he opens it. Garland did not directly address a reporter's question, the Politico reports. The president reflected a conflict of interest. Here we go. Garland didn't directly address the reporter's question today about whether his request and the president's agreeing reflects a conflict of interest due to the way the issue could affect them personally. You think? When cabinet members like Merrick Garland face a possible contempt citation in the past, because that's what the Republicans were threatening since he wouldn't release it. They were going to give him a contempt citation from Congress. They have sometimes appealed directly to the president to seek legal protection offered by an assertion of executive privilege. In other words, he's abusing his ability by colluding with Biden to get immunity so that he won't get in trouble. So it's a conflict for his own interest. Nope. All right, there you go. Good times. Can I tell you something? This story I have for you next is a story that is beyond from my heart, is so from my heart. And it's something I saw today. It was something that hit the news today. And it involves somebody that is such a salt of the earth person. You know what I'm saying? The Rolling Stones sing a song called Salt of the Earth. And I'm going to play that for you coming up next with it because it fits it. And they say a prayer for the hardworking people. Say a prayer for the people who basically it's the common people that work in the factories, that work in the mills, that are driving us making food for us in the plow, with the plows they call it in the song, and I forget what it was. There's a bunch of different ones, but it's really awesome and it's really true. And so that's what I thought of, is this one person today who literally faced death and terror like unlike any of us ever will. And I mean this. And you'll hear the audio of when it happened. And why somebody like this and these kinds of people that do this kind of job and others that do these kinds of jobs need to have their hat tipped to us, need to be saluted and honored and appreciated, because we don't realize all these wonderful people and how much they serve us and how much they get food to our house, to our grocery stores that we can eat, how they get so many things, okay? This is an amazing little story I cannot wait to share with you next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. I want to play for you some audio in a second, but here's the thing. If you haven't seen this, it's on my Twitter feed, at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrok. A truck driver, a woman behind the wheel of a semi with cargo, has to go across a bridge where it's in Kentucky. It's a major bridge with a massive overhang. I mean, we're talking probably 200, I don't know, but 200 feet above the water. She would have died most likely. She also cannot swim. She was terrified with her seatbelt on of falling in. Here's what happened. She was driving on this bridge around Louisville, where she lives and where she works, and while she's driving her semi, some truck swerves into her lane. It slams into her. She tried to avoid it. It slams into her. Like she had no time. This woman was paying attention. She swerved and she did her best. She wasn't texting and driving. She wasn't on the phone with somebody. She literally was doing her job. How many of these people drive every day and have boredom and difficulty doing their job because it's so overwhelming and lengthy? And they got the pressure of the world with the semi. They can kill your kid, if they mess up, right? This thing hit her so hard and head on and the wrong way, in such a way that it took out her like hydraulics or something, or steering. She drove immediately off the bridge. And she says that when they teach you in your driver class for driving a big rig, you always drive forward, even if it means worse, because if you drive off, it's worse. It's worse for everybody and everything, for as far as death, injury, everything. Just stay in as straight as possible. That's what you do in a collision or whatever. But to have this woman, undoubtedly a tiny woman behind a rig that's thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, with our lives in her hand, and paying attention to the minute when this happens, the second this happens, being ready for it and alert. And then she hit this thing crashed into her, took out her steering. She flew off the bridge, and her cab dangled face first to the river below. Number two, she thought her rig was, is it called a rig, or the big load that's carrying whatever? She thought the trailer was flat regularly, like it's supposed to be on the road. It was not. Half of it was pointed, half of it was off the bridge with her. So the entire massive rig that she was hauling was also on an angle off the side of the bridge. You understand me? So she thought that was safe and that was hanging onto her. It was not. That rig was also dangling off the bridge with her. These pictures and everything are on the video on my Twitter feed, at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show. But this woman is the salt of the earth. These people that protect us, that not protect us, but that provide for us and drive for us, are the salt of the earth. People that protect us are too. And we take for granted the people that bring power to our homes, that work out there. We take for granted the people that drive our trucks, who bring us food, and sweet, hardworking women like this, who face death, and men who will protect us and help us if we're on the side of the road stranded and they drive by. These people hold our lives in their hands with what they do. And this woman was ready for it. She was on the alert. And so what would you like to say tonight? And I'll play her voice in a second, what she said in an interview with the Louisville local station today. I'll play her voice in a second with a compilation of audio from this 9-minute story I watched today. It was incredible. It was her first interview. What would you like to say to the truckers? And who else out there would you like to tip your hat to that is the salt of the earth, that doesn't get the credit and recognition that we want to give to people? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. And now here's the trucker and her interview that talks about her experience. A young lady named Sydney Thomas. She's only 26. Listen to her.
And the two southbound lanes, he crossed over into the northbound lane, and then he hit me. And once he hit me, he took my suspension out, which meant that I can't, it didn't matter which way I turned the wheel. The truck was going to go whatever direction it wanted to go in. I felt myself veering off to the left, and then I saw myself going over the railing, and I was like, well, this is it.
You knew you were going over the railing?
I did. Well, not immediately after the impact, but I say like 2 seconds later. I held on to the wheel, and once he hit, I couldn't swerve into the other lane. You know, that's what they tell you when you learn how to drive a truck. You just keep going straight. It don't matter, because if you go in to turn off, you could make it worse than if you just take it head on. And so I did that. When I went through the railing, I was like, I was just thinking like, wow, this is crazy to die like this. You know, and I really thought that I was about to die. And I was like, well, I can try to hurry up and take the seatbelt off and jump out of the truck if I have enough time to.
You were thinking this?
When I felt myself going over, I'm like, I'm gonna have to jump. I can't swim either. I didn't know how bad it was. I thought that the trailer was still on the bridge. I didn't know that it was like this. I have to be still, because if I move an inch, the truck might shift and fall over. And I started praying, and I kept asking the person I was talking to, how long is it gonna be? Are they on the way? And he kept saying, they on the way, they coming.
When you say you were still and frozen, what do you mean by that?
I had my hand on the steering wheel, gripped on it, and I just was trying to, I had my foot on the brake too.
Let's pause it here, because I want to play the rest of it. We have to pause for a moment. I want to hear from you too. This woman is the salt of the earth, and she has our lives in our hands every day. And she was caught being righteous. She was caught being alert and attentive, and she was in a horrific situation. I'm just so proud of this woman for, at the moment nobody's watching her, being alert. She did. She tried to swerve out of that way. She wasn't some bum. And I'm very proud of her. She dangled for a half hour. Probably 200 feet over that. And guess what the most moment of truth was? You're going to hear about this from her next. When she had to be cut, she had that. There's one guy dangling from a rappelling line, a rescuer. One man who would have to cut her from her seatbelt, the only thing holding her in, and then take her and hold her, and she would have to believe that she wouldn't fall at that point. And then she would have to be hoisted up 100, 50, 100 feet, I don't know what. This is an unbelievable rescue. See it on my Twitter feed. Follow me on Twitter at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrock. Coming up next, you hear the second part of her interview. And also, I want to ask you tonight, who do you want to salute tonight? I have a message for the truckers tonight that I want to salute for everything you guys do for us and how important you are to us. Who else would you also like to tip your hat to tonight that is the salt of the earth? That's next. Our lines are wide open for you. Chime in right now at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. On News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.